Well, Thaddeus Cadius. We're there. This is Chernabog, the last of them. Hope you enjoy this. Really, hope you do. And let's see what happens. Hello, and welcome to this part of the pond, where it's the Bullfrog and the one, the only, Newt.
Base reveal at 100,000 subscribers.
We want the subscribers. Well, any channel would want those subscribers. And honestly, we wouldn't mind that. And also, you want to see that face. It is, you look at that and go, wow, wasn't expecting that. Wow, very neat, unusual, like it. Well, anyways, when you clicked on this, you're probably curious to know, what are we doing if you're new to the pond? And what we're doing is we're trying to figure out who is the best Disney villain, who's the worst of the worst. And we're going to find out how by formula, not opinion, not by poll, but by formula. And if you want to know more about the formula in detail, go to here. And here's the basic rundown, and that is, the formula is two parts. There's this mathematical side. Each villain is going to go through this ringer. And then there's this essay side, where it's kind of obvious. And we're going to put Chernabog through the ringer. So now let's see how this guy goes, people. And we're going to begin in round one. Get over here! By the way, before we go more into that, please remember to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and also, guess what? We are on Discord. And let's begin. And let's be honest, people. This is what design means. For a villain or any character. I mean, take a look at this hunk of junk. Yeah, that is A, huge. B, wow. I mean, when you first see him, he's a silhouette. He goes from silhouette to suddenly now, add the lighting. What happens? He gets blues and reds and cool colors and warm colors at the same time. You want to know something else about him? He's one of the very, very rare Disney villains where he is the background. Also, he's so freaking huge, his hand is the foreground. And his head is still in the background. And this sucker, wow! If this is what design is and what design is meant to be, it's obvious, people. This guy is the definition for design. Heck, let's go up to Webster's Dictionary. And it says, Chernabog. Just that. Fantasia's Chernabog right there, plain as day. Well, kind of obvious. Old Cherny got him round one with a perfect 4. And now it's presents. And here's the guy he's set up, and what is presents for this him? Well, you can't help but say look at him, because it's kind of true. When the camera zooms in, you just see this city and this mountain peak, and suddenly the peak opens and you see its wings, and there he is right there. And he begins as a silhouette, and then his shadow extends. You're going, okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. What else can you do? Wow. Face it, this is presence at its best. From the way how he is and moves and how he interacts with the screen. Heck, his shadow is a piece of presence. It interacts with the world and causes what should be normal feel eerie. Everything about him just screams, look at me. Everything about him is a statement. I am evil. I am the devil. Call me Chernabog. Whew. And to go even farther with presents, with each and every Disney villain, we go through their times. Why? So that we can see how they handle the free-for-all. These times can hurt or help, or do something even more. And let's see old Chernabog is doing. So we have to go to our handy-dandy notebook. And let's see if I can open on the right page. I'm not trying, I am. Gosh dang it. This is amazing. This is estimated time, so it's not exact. So, sorry. But for him, his estimated time when he is on screen and being evil, just being evil and him on screen, I think he has 3 minutes and 29 seconds. But when he's also being banished and he's withdrawing, it's almost like it's 2 minutes. But then there's the full 45 seconds when he's truly recoiling. But also his shadow. When people say they have a cast a long shadow, that's kind of their presence. That's who they are. You live under this big title. And this guy has a big title indeed. And that thing, his shadow, has an estimated 1 minute and 17 seconds. Wow. Oh, Chernabog, you are looking pretty good. Your presence is a 4. We're gonna rate on Devil and Power. What that's gonna be. Oh yeah, how does that gonna achieve, huh? It's not like it's gonna be a long list. It's not like it's gonna be something where you realize you didn't notice before. It's not like this guy is, this tall? We're not mathematics, we're not game theorists, we're not Death Battle, but you can tell that's pretty big from the waist up, so this is not the full body. But that's pretty big and tall, and let's face it, him just doing this is an instant death for a human being, so his size is a big factor, his hands are a big factor. Wow. What else can this guy do in power? After all, it's not like he's summoning fire and summoning demons. And the fact that he can actually turn fire into women, and not just women figures that's dancing in his hand, but also flames themselves have a womanly shape. Take a look in these stills. Take a look at him. That is a womanly figure. So he has a thing for women in flames. Oh, wait, how come that sounds like someone else? Well, anyways, it's not like he's done anything else. Well, yes, he has. Like, he's brought up human figures from the graveyard, and they're stiff for a bit, doing nothing, and then they become animate, and they're flying and riding horses and other things and such, and not realizing, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it's not that there's nothing else. Oh, yes, there is. Remember those fiery human girls? He transforms them into ugly barn animals. He can transform others into something else. And, wow. And also at the same time, take a look at this. 3 become 5. He can multiply his henchmen to be having more numbers. Yeah, let's face it, his power is another 4. Round 3. Goes to Cherney again. And now with Cherney, we deal with the henchman side of him. And this is something very interesting. Because Cherney, I don't know why, but I can only... He's devolved to only Cherney for me, no longer Chernabog. He's Cherney. I've worked with him so much. He's almost like a brother, like, hey, Cherney! Well, it's weird. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to be calling him Cherney from now on because of him. Well, anyways, getting that out of my hair, Cherney here actually is part of Disney villain history. Because in Henchman, he is the first to have an army of henchmen working under him. So, he gets that. So get his image and throw the stamp on it because Cherney has made villain history. And who would know Fantasia would be so important to the dark side of Disney? The first death, the first guy with an army. Who knew? And his army is a very diverse army. From the dead he summoned, from stiffs to moves, to the demons that dance before him. And they do their master's bidding. And you know what they're going to do? We're going to put a pin in that. Because they're actually more connected to what's later on with our second half of this video, talking about the acts of villainy. And I think this is probably the first time where we have to take the henchman side or upside of the formula, and it has to merge with the acts of villainy. Because we don't want to spoil the acts of villainy, mainly with Chernabog, because you won't believe your ears what I'm about to say. And the henchmen are important to this. So, our henchman is going to have a little pause, and we're going to go directly into acts of villainy. And what is it about the acts of villainy that makes Cherney so iconic? That just captures our attention and goes, he's the darkest one. After all, he's supposed to depict Satan, right? And what does he do? Really, what does he do that just steals us? He takes the dead. He summons them, brings them forth. The dead are his henchmen. And what does he do with the henchmen? What does he command the dead of the henchmen to do? Fly and prance and circle around him. Okay. And the demons that he summons, they do their master's bidding, and that is to dance. You may notice how my voice is dropping a bit, because I'm starting to after watching this and overanalyzing it, I'm starting to see a big problem about Cherney being an iconic villain. He's more iconic because he's so perfect mathematically. We haven't done the henchman yet, but here's the important thing. He is big mathematically. He's a very visual character. But acts of villainy, it's all a performance. This is what Cherney does. He moves with the music. He commands fire to go in sync with the music. And you may go, Bullfrog, this is a Fantasia. Yes, he summons the fire, turns it into beautiful women, and the women dance and become ugly. Yes, that happens. That is probably the darkest thing he ever does, is turning fire into beautiful women and turning them into demonic farm animals, to then turning them into 5 demons, and then killing them and bringing them back up. Him killing them and bringing them back up negates the death. Well, you can't, it's not dead unless you come back. Then what's the purpose of dying? And his henchmen are still loyal to him, even though they'll kill him. Okay, that's interesting. But again, remember what I said. Him turning the flames that are beautiful into ugly is the darkest thing he'll ever does on screen. The rest of this is a performance. What he commands his henchmen is to dance. Everything, nothing more is in sync. Everything else is just a performance. And I think this hurts Cherney. He's not, visually, he's perfect. Villain side, he does nothing but turn beautiful ugly. That is it. He summons the dead, but the dead return. He summons the demons, but they retreat with him. But they retreat faster than he does. That's to his power, so point for him there. But it's all a performance. It does nothing. He achieves very little. Bullfrog, he's a Fantasia. Yes, he is a Fantasia. And let's compare this Fantasia to 3 other Fantasias, 2 of which we've already dabbled into. One of them is Zeus. We're not comparing villains, we're comparing Fantasias. Because in the Fantasia of the Olympus, Greek side, you see it kind of has a story of centaurs, centaurettes, and satyrs preparing for a picnic and drinking out with the god of wine. And the party gets crashed by Zeus and Orpheus. Face it, these are the party crashers. Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson, we found your Disney equivalent. That's what happens there. Silly as it is, but yet that's what happens. There's actual story there. And with the T-Rex and their bit. In their Fantasia, it's all about survival and extinction. The survival of dinosaurs living during that time. And also the T-Rex taking a life because he needed to eat. Survival. We see that those Fantasias actually speak of a purpose. Now we talk to the third Fantasia, which we don't touch. Because it's not really villainous. To a certain point. And that is Mickey Mouse in The Sorcerer's Apprentice. One of the most iconic pieces. The only Fantasia that can go second into that is actually Cherney in Night of Bald Mountain. These 2 are the most iconic of Fantasia. But why I'm talking about Mickey? Here's this. In Mickey's Fantasia, you see that there's somewhat of a story. An apprentice to an all-powerful magician given a small task. But he goes, wait a minute, I'll cheat, I'll use magic. He cheats, it looks like he's working, and he starts to daydream, and we see what he wants to be. The next superpower in magic. Okay, that's pretty good. But then you see his cheating made things worse, and he tries his best to solve his problem, which does get solved by his master, who looks at him fondly and then says, get back to work. There's a story there. Every single Fantasia I've talked about has a somewhat of a story. While Night on Bald Mountain, our man Cherney has no story. This is just evil basking in evil. It loves being evil and it enjoys being evil. But it doesn't really show it's being evil. Yes, evil looks ugly. Evil has an ugly face about it. But at the same time, this evil achieved nothing. It took the dead returned. He summoned his demons, and yet they retreat. And then he follows through. There's not that much accomplished. Whatever he does, it's taken. But also, there's no real story. It's a sense of a big giant performance with him, but with the bells of Ave Maria, he recoils back into the mountaintop, which flows into Ave Maria. That is what Night of Bald Mountain and Ave Maria are showing us. Good versus evil. And they do it through a performance. There's no story, it's all symbolic. And Cherney is a good visual, but he's not a good doer. But and so the acts of villainy put him in a weird spot. But I talked a lot about his henchmen in the acts of villainy. They're loyal to a fault. They have no will. to do anything else. They are absolutely obedient. And putting that in motion and seeing it in play, a villain who has henchmen that fulfills his job, and that is to perform and to look bad doing it. That's what the henchmen are doing, and they do it well. They show no independence, but yet he shows he's not dependent on them. So it puts off, there's a good balance here for Cherney, not for the henchmen, but the henchmen need to fulfill their goal, which they did. So the henchman mathematical side, which we're now going back to, is a 3. Pretty good, almost a 4. But yet, for a 4 with a henchman, I think there needs to be some independence. Still loyal and obedient, but they have to be a little independent. But that is thrown away. And now to the acts of villainy. How does this end? What does this mean for old Cherney? You're a performer. You're a performer whose goal is to perform. We're looking for a villain. We're looking for the worst of the worst. And you're not being that. Your goal is to dance. We're looking for bad guys. Everything you do is negated but one moment. But that is also kind of negated. Almost. The worst thing you've done, like I said a lot, is you turn beauty into ugly. But you already had control of that beauty to begin with. You summoned it. You didn't take it. Thaddeus? You may not like what's going to happen here. I think a lot of people won't like what's going to happen. But Chernabog, the man who stole so many hearts and caused so many nightmares visually, his placement isn't good. He's a green, a low green. He's not being a villain, he's being an antagonist. Pleasing to the eye, but not pleasing for his goals. We're sorry, but this is where he is, a low green. Honestly, I didn't came in knowing this. And like we say in the pond, we're learning with you. And I thought personally, before we did the formula on him, I thought he would be in the reds. But read it out. He does nothing as an achievement. He's a performer who is a good dancer. Yeah, you could dance, you did good, but you accomplished nothing. Who knew? Who knew that this would happen? If the formula can turn Chernabog into a green, what does this mean for any other villain? This is the Bullfrog and the Newt saying, what does this mean for the rest of Disney? Who knew?